All right, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And I figured I'll pick the camera up. It's gonna be a really quick, short video. Ryan Milhouse, he's coming tomorrow to pick his bike up. Only downside is we didn't get all the parts in. So I ordered a digital fuel gauge from the guys over at Ramjet. It still hasn't even shipped. And then also Drag Specialty is still on back order for the 11/16 master cylinder, which is as well on order. The wife and I took a camping trip last weekend. Justin's been hard at work with just production parts and been helping out Renegade Interior, Renegade Customs, or I don't remember their exact name, but they're out of Little Rock. They just did an award-winning SEMA interior, so congratulations to those guys and Justin as well. Beautiful, beautiful Cutlass. Justin did all the billet work on the interior, billet steering wheel and trim and everything, and that thing came out phenomenal. Unfortunately, he hasn't really got a chance to mess with Hudson's bike. Like we said through Instagram and things like that, we had to get a different transmission. He's still waiting on some parts to come in. So I'm hoping the next video will be an update for Hudson's bike. As far as today's video goes, I need to button this bike up. As you see, and I'm gonna talk while I'm showing these little clips. Went over to Andy's, I took the front wheel to him and he did confirm that the bearings were bad. So there was way too much in play. Whoever, the last time someone did it, they put a lot of shims in there, and Andy doesn't like to do shims. Reason being, from what he explained to me, is when you get some of those really, really thin shims, if they drop as you're sliding the axle in and out, they'll catch. If they catch, they put a little bend in it, and then you'll never get true end play. So you might think it's, you know, correct or whatever while you're adjusting it, and it's actually still kind of off. But as you see, he made a fresh new inner spacer, so there's no shims inside of it. New bearings, new seals, fresh grease, everything's good to go. The wheel is back on the motorcycle, and I did go ahead and get the calipers on there as well, so everything is lined up. But all the brake calipers are spaced correctly. Everything looks good. You can probably see that, but that's what you want. You want the seam of your brake caliper dead even with your rotor. So everything's lined up, everything's back together. What we're going to do now is we're going to put the brake line fittings on our calipers, run those up to this little junction, and then I already have the junction running up to the master cylinder, which, like I said, that master cylinder will not be staying. There's going to be a fresh master cylinder, and the measurement for this line is already not going to work because he's switching bars to the Speed King bars as well. So he's going to get a new line. We're going to do the 135 degree, I think it's called, like I did on my bike. So we'll kick this over just a little bit. With the taller bars, you'll probably need new cables. These things are pretty well maxed out. I did put a little correct 8L up here, so it holds all this real nice. What else we do? You guys, you saw on the original video, the bolts were mismatched back here. No one really commented or said anything negative about it, but I didn't like the way they look. And he's running a few of these. So this was already here. The rear motor mount, the front motor mount. There's quite a few of these chrome hex heads. So it's got a little stainless shim washer. I like to put washers on everything. It just keeps from biting into the actual aluminum. So we did the one side. I'm going to save the other side. We'll do that here in a second. I also did do the little sissy bar, got that installed. I did crank the shocks up in the back a little bit. These are the Drag Specialties. If you don't know, this part of the body actually can adjust inside of this little canister. So I think whatever you buy, you have a ½ inch up and down. So there's a full inch of travel, safely an inch of travel that you can go in and out from wherever these things are originally purchased. So I think these were 12.5s. So I think they're sitting at like 13 inches now. FXR Forever lift blocks and their RP rear struts. So this thing's sitting actually pretty tall on the back end, and the front end definitely tall. So let's get the camera set up. Let's go ahead and get the rest of these shock bolts done in the back end and get the front end back together and get this thing on the ground. This is the FXR Forever. This is his lift block that he offers. This is designed to go with your stock FXR swing arm. Like I said in the previous video, Xavier from Providence Cycle did design this swing arm to utilize all the stock stuff. So this little mount is just like the stock. It's just made out of aluminum. The only downside, I would say, is that it actually uses two different size bolts. So the top bolt is narrower, and the bottom bolt, being the way that Xavier made it, it's a little thicker than what the factory would be. On the front side, we're going to put this nice little stainless washer on both top and bottom. We'll get those installed. So the shorter one to the top, and then the longer one in the bottom. And then on the back side, same thing, washer. Now what I'm using is I'm actually using kind of a aircraft style locking nuts. Now these are real shallow, but they're kind of crushed and oval, so they actually have what they call prevailing torque built into the nut. So this alleviates the need for like Loctite or a lock and wash or anything like that, because you don't have a lot of room to stack a bunch of things on the back side of here. I just like these. They're kind of like a anodized rust-proof coating on there. But what is nice about it, like I said, it does hold the torque, and if they're good enough for airplanes, they're good enough for FXR. Sure, that makes sense. And it's all 3/4 front and back. All right, before you put the fork brace on, you do need to get the front fender in. Now, something to pay attention to anytime you're tightening up a fender. I see it a lot. There's some movement in it. This one actually doesn't have as much as I've seen in the past, but I've seen some people when they tighten their fenders, especially the 06 and up dynos where they have the 2 bolts just on one side of the leg, so they're 2 bolts stacked instead of the 2 bolts spread. You could really get that fender to lean back or lean forward, and it just doesn't look good. So make sure when you're kind of tightening it and you're snugging it that you have a nice even kind of curve gap, if you will, against the tire. And now that I say that, look around at bikes when you go places, especially bikes that have had paint work or whatever, and you'll notice quite a bit of guys riding around with their fenders tilted either forward or backwards. All right, next thing is this, I don't know what brand this is. It doesn't have anything marked on it. It's just a chrome fork brace. So we're gonna put it back on. He wants it on. Actually, I'm not gonna put this on because they're getting ready to take this fender off, and this thing was kind of a pain to get off. So I'm gonna leave this off. I'm just gonna put it back together for him. And when they put this bike into final form, they can bolt this back on. So Ryan, that's why I didn't put this thing on, because I don't want to scratch everything up and then you have to take it right back off and put it right back on. So I'm gonna put this in his pile of parts, and he can just put it on when they put the bike together for the last time. Remember before, you could see the rub mark on the tire from when it was rubbing the inside of the fender, but now we actually have pretty good light there, pretty good light on that side, and everything is smooth, free-flowing, really nice setup. I'm super happy with how it turned out. Like I said, I did have to create some spacers for in here because the rotors actually do tuck in a little bit further, but we got plenty of clearance now. This was really close to hitting the leg itself, so that's all nicely gapped properly. Everything's, like I said, greased. And let's go ahead and put those brake lines on real quick. So what we got for brake lines is really simple. It's the same exact setup that's on my blue bike. And I know a lot of you guys are probably going to sit there and say, well, there's, you know, this brand and this brand. There are definitely better brands out there, but these are just some drag specialty. These are their braided line series, and they're already made up. So they have the -3 ANs. I think that's what these are. Pretty sure this is -3. AN fittings built into the actual line already. And then what I did was I was able to take a measurement from the brake caliper up to that adapter, came out to 19 inches. So that's what these are. And then we're going to put these little 90-degree elbows on the actual calipers. This screws into that, and then this goes all the way up to that adapter. So pretty straightforward. It's a really nice setup to run, especially when you're doing bars and things like that, because you can actually kind of like fine tune your system in. They do make like a one piece, I think Magnum and a couple other companies, they do make like a one piece lower half, and then you just put an upper half and things like that. But sometimes they're a little big, or, you know, maybe you can't get the exact size that you need. And then you have this excess of brake line, which kind of is what I'm having a problem with my blue bike, is the front end was a lot longer when I first measured them. Now the front end's tucked a little bit more with those different legs in there, and I have a little too much slack in my brake lines. So maybe this winter I'll go ahead and order a set of lines, but this is all I have to buy. I just got to buy 2 of these. These things are around 24 bucks a piece. So for 50 bucks, I can get the lines shorter, and it'll just look a little cleaner. So might be one of my projects I do this winter. Also, anytime that you're measuring your brake lines, I should have said this earlier, make sure your front end is at full droop. So even when your bike is on the wheels, the front end has what they call a sag in it, and the sag does suck the wheel up a little bit. So you want to make sure your front end is fully extended as far as it's going to go, And you still want to leave yourself just a little bit of line in here. It doesn't need to be a straight line from here to here. I don't know. I've always liked the little bit of a curved look. Fits a little better, I think. Looks cleaner, and then it lets you know that there's still plenty of room to go taller if you wanted to, or it's not going to snag and pull out if the front end drops down. If you ever remove the calipers, you're able to let the calipers kind of hang a little bit without it causing any damage, if you will. But yeah, just make sure when you measure this distance, don't just measure boom to boom. Know what kind of fitting you're going to run, and then to also have your front end fully extended with the front end all the way down. That way you know you're not going to ever pull the line out, because if you hit a bump or lift the bike up on a lift, it ain't going to pull out the brake line. I really like this setup. I like these wheels. So I think I call these wheels Custom Chrome. I think Custom Chrome sold them, but the company that actually produced these wheels were called, it was Sturgis Wheel Company. I think that's what Andy told me. I guess they were a big wheel company back in the 90s. They made some really good wheels. I think they were sold through the Custom Chrome catalog. So these are actually from a manufacturer called Sturgis. So these top line, this adapter right here, it's kind of soldered together, if you will. It does have little provisions to hold for a wrench. So make sure you hold that. Don't just tighten it up. Also, another thing with this brake line adapter, you can actually, if you're real gentle, don't just go bending real crazy, but you can kind of bend these ever so slightly. So I try to make sure that when I'm looking from one side of the bike through the bike, that the fork tube's lined up, and that this line is lined up with this line. And then from the front, I like to try to make sure that one is not bent in or whatever, that they're both going the same line down. And this one for your master cylinder, you do need to bend it just a little bit. It usually is tucked a little too far back. So try to bend it at the very end. Don't bend it anywhere near the actual joints where they're soldered together, or you could possibly break the solder, and the next thing you know, you got a leaky adapter. So yeah, I think we're pretty much done. Bolts are on, torque for the shock mounts. Obviously, we did the rear pulley on the last video. We did the risers, got everything done up here. And I wanted to do the fuel gauge. I was really wanting to put the fuel gauge in it, wire it up, show you guys kind of that digital fuel gauge. Hudson's bike's gonna have one. My twin cam bike's gonna have one. I wanted to put it on this bike. I ordered it. It's coming from Ramjet. I haven't had a tracking number on it. It's been over a week, and I still don't have it. So unfortunately, in these videos, I didn't get a chance to do the fuel gauge, but it will get a fuel gauge and the correct master cylinder. Those two parts are still in transit. Steering neck, we did give it a little adjustment. Obviously, having the wheels, both front and rear, spaced correctly. This one not rubbing. And what else did I do? Oh yeah, the exhaust was rubbing the swing arm. The nut, the bracket was in too far. With this axle that Providence offers is a really wide axle. It uses nuts on both ends. So I did some tweaking on that to get everything kind of to free up some space. And then, like I said, we lifted the rear. So let's get this thing down on the ground, and you guys stay tuned for Ryan's reaction, if you will. And Mikey, because Mikey will be with him. So Ryan and Mikey's reaction. Drag Specialty shocks, dude, it actually feels really good.
Great. It's
yeah.
Taller for sure.
Yeah, it's probably about an inch in the rear and then about 2 in the front total. Because now the kickstand, before he had that block on there,
yeah,
and it wasn't leaned over enough, so
it's still pretty up and down with
yeah.
With
that dual disc and the shocks and everything, it just sits. It looks like a different bike.
Hell yeah. By the way, this is Mikey from Ace Graphics. He's the gentleman that's helped us out with the signage for the FXR tour. Yep. And we're actually going to be doing a lot more stuff. And the stickers for the FXR tour, obviously. And does all Justin stickers and banners and...
A little bit of everybody.
A little bit of everybody's. All the T-Max guys. And of course, Rob, Moto Farm. He's been putting together some really cool events. So I'm hoping to get out there and do one of them here soon.
Winter camping ride coming up. I've been working on a flyer for it. Dates are going to be the first weekend after the January the 1st. I believe it's the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I'm excited to see how many come out. It's going to be like probably riding weather's probably going to be in the 40s and 50s. Yeah. And then pretty chilly overnight.
But you're just outside of Nashville though, right?
Yeah, 45 minutes from downtown.
Okay.
If anybody's ever familiar with the Clarksville, Fort Campbell area, we're 10-15 minutes from that area.
Hell yeah. We'll see his reaction when he gets back, if he ever gets back. Fingers crossed it don't break down.
Better not.
It is an FXR, so
he might not come back.
Yeah, he might just take it all the way home. What do you think, dude?
She's a runner, she's a track star.
Feels good though, don't it?
It feels good.
It actually, like, suspension wise, I don't know. I wish we knew exactly what size springs those were, because I want it for mine. Like whatever's in that is what I want, because it felt great.
It doesn't have that.
No, it felt planted.
Yeah.
And like I said, for being just some drag specialty rear shocks, it actually felt cush in the back. Yep. Like having the preload set, you know, where one wasn't maxed out and the other one was max loose.
Right.
The two different preloads.
Yeah, we like living our life.
You know, when I take my left turns, I like a little more cush, and my right turns, I like it a little more firm. Do you approve? Are you happy with it?
Yeah.
Definitely worth leaving it here for a little bit.
Oh, 100%.
Nah, I'm stoked. Man, the front end, I'm telling you right now, just like the dual brakes, like even though you're kind of covering up a little bit of that wheel, it just screams performance.
I just had one of our premier dealers in Puerto Rico reach out to me, and he sent me this morning, dude.
Uh-oh.
John Reyes sent me
air cleaner
and
another. Is that
the rotors? Those are the RevTech rotors, but they're not ball. I guess they are ball milled.
Yeah, they got a little groove in them.
So I asked him, I said, "Oh, Stap, is that an air breather cover?" He said, "Yes." I asked him for sale. He hasn't responded, but hopefully he does, and maybe that'll be the next.
Well, you do got the points cover, and you got the derby cover.
I got the derby cover coming. We're gonna load this back up here just in a few minutes and boogie back down to Tennessee, but it's gonna be full tear down. The frame's going to chrome, and Jeremy.
Wait, chrome?
Yeah.
So it's happening.
It's happening. Yeah. Full freshen up. Jeremy should have the paint to me in a few weeks, and motor's sold.
Tins are sold, motor sold.
Yeah. Big
new
SMS,
motor. Yeah,
new 117 going in it. Baker 6 for them.
I'll let y'all get back on the road, and then I guess maybe you can send me a few updates. We'll let the people see what's happening on the channel.
We'll definitely do that.
We'll throw in some little teasers, some random videos. Yeah. Because I know this thing. I'm trying to get my twin cam ready for TMMR, and now you've said.
Yeah, I think my end date for this is going to be TMMR.
Yeah, so that's in May. That's middle May. That gives us good 6 solid months. Yeah. I think it's feasible. I mean, you don't have no. The chrome's going to be the thing. I know when Justin did his frame on the Mint bike, he was getting kind of pushed around. And
so, according to Mr. Steve Edgar out in Cali, he's saying his guy's a couple weeks. So I would imagine tack a couple weeks after that. Yeah. You know, I would say a month. I should have it back from California, and then we'll start the assembly process. I should have the motor back by then, and then we got to run up to Michigan and have Mr. Scott Lurg and the team up at Baker put
it all dialed in.
Transmission in. Yeah. And I want to be able to kind of put hands on and see how all that goes back together and stuff, you know.
If you grab a couple little shots of that, we'll put it in here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks for letting me do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully we'll see you in January. Maybe. We'll see.
Cool if you can make it out.
Yeah.